Hi guys, just down at the beach to try out the new BRM Paia. I've had it for a few weeks already, but haven't been able to get out in the water because we're in our off season, and when we get any wind coming through at this time of year, it's really gusty and strong, like really strong. But yesterday I went out on the river and it was blowing everywhere from like 13 to 30 knots and then picked up to 38, something like that, and went out in the 1.7 car, which was just fantastic. Gosh, I love that wing. But yeah, my mate was out on a 4-meter Kanaha, Peter Hookham, shout out to you, mate. Look, he's a great parawinger. He can really get up in super light wind and can hold the top end really well. And look, he was struggling. I was struggling too, for sure. But my first feeling with that Paia is that, man, it can really hold the top end well. Once you're up and riding, the amount of apparent wind it builds just gets you through the lulls so good. And it just cranks up wind. It's just incredible. Getting up, however, that was tricky, man. Like, especially for me, and riding a lowish aspect Parawing, I ride the car predominantly, and that thing I can just get up by, aligning the ocean energy or the bump energy with the wind by flying it super back in the window. That is just a fantastic way of getting up using like a semi-sinker board. I ride a 57-litre downwind prone by Appletree, and I can engage the foil super early with that, with the lower aspect wings. With the higher aspect wing, man, it was tricky, I gotta say. I felt like I wanted a bigger board for the first time in a while. I started with a really small board. I never really felt like I needed a big board for parawinging, and I still think that's the case. I mean, if you've got enough wind, you're going to get up on that board with the Paia. There's no problem with that. But riding smaller foils, I mean, I was on a 1080 HA Armstrong yesterday, which is a really easy, nice wing for parawing. I really thoroughly recommend that for anyone getting going. But we want to ride slightly smaller stuff, especially out in the ocean, to keep up with some of the bumps and and crank turns a bit more. So 880 is usually my go-to on the ocean. I want to try and get onto the 780 more. But look, I felt like I needed a slightly longer board because you're using a lot more board speed to get going, because you're not aligning the energy and engaging that foil as early, because if you try and fly this Paia back in the window, it just starts to stall out and want to collapse, and the wingtips start to fall in. So you can fly it pretty high and still sort of go down with the bumps, but you're not getting all of the energy of the canopy. Then when you start to fly it towards the edge of the window, you expose more of the canopy, and man, geez, that thing just wants to fly forward, which means on this, when you're trying to get up, is it's really pulling you over the bumps, not along with them. So a little bit of extra board speed was good. But look, once you're up and going, the amount of apparent wind this thing builds is just insane. So you can handle the lulls super good. And yeah, and look, on the wadding or the flagging out, it's super easy, hey, and even I think I was 28 knots easy, and it was just effortless to stall out and pull in. That it would have been really hard on a 4-meter Kanaha or something like that in those winds. You'd probably want to go the frontline depower method. But yeah, like, it was super nice for that. And it came pretty small, like the wind came out of it really easy. There was no catching in the leading edge. It just the wind just dissipated really quickly. Of course, you're left with more material to pack away, and we're back to slightly longer lines again, similar to I was on a 4.5 meter, by the way, and the wind was, like I say, 13 to 30 knots when I was out. Tricky at the beginning. pretty easy once the wind got up, and 30 knots was okay. But those lines was like going out on the 4-meter Maliko, which was totally manageable. But gosh, you do get used to the shorter lines of the Ka'a and the Kanaha. And so yeah, I did a couple of full stows, and I had the camera, and the bumps were small, so I was having to pump to sustain myself, and I didn't manage a redeployment without catching a line. So hopefully I'll get better today. But I'm looking out there at the moment. It's not looking great, to be honest. There's a lot of seaweed there, so I might head back to the river. But look, I just wanted to give you my first impressions, and I'll put a bit of footage up so you can see me struggling, and you can also probably see how well it goes upwind. Super happy with it. I think where it's really going to shine is parking the car at your destination and then heading upwind. I'm talking 5-10 kilometer sort of runs here. In the bay, or in a small area, I just really like the single skins. I hear a lot about the ozone going upwind well and so on, but for me, I just really love those BRMs. How easy they are to stow, how quick, and how they're really great at drifting downwind. You can really pick your bump and just jump on it. Super good, so fast, and they go upwind really well. I mean, I was on the 1.7 meter car yesterday, and I just had no problems going upwind on that, and it was 38 knots. I mean, it's just my favorite Parawing. But I wanted something for like, because I'm getting more and more into downwinding, and I think there's a great thing about Parawing. I don't come from a paddling background, so this is super fun, man. Like getting into more and more downwinding, and now I want to do bigger runs. Not just a couple of kilometers. I want to go 5-10 kilometer runs. So what I'm thinking, what I wanted before even the Paia came out, was something that would just like take me upwind. Like something crazy. And yeah, I think some of the newer V2 wings, they go upwind really well, but they're not like a kite foiling upwind. Like they go well. They go as well as a wing probably. But I want something even better, and I was like, oh. And then the Paia came out, and my first impression is it's probably going to do the job. So parking downwind, because they are a little bit tricky to get up, at the bottom of your run, and then heading upwind. If you can't get up, no big trouble. You just go back to your car. But if you can get up, you're going to get upwind. You're going to go a long way upwind this time. And then you can pack it away. You can fit it into an 8-liter dry bag, which just, when it's dry, it's just not going to be heavy on your back. Even if it's wet, it's not going to be too bad. And then pull out a single skin, man, and then just head downwind. Because I'm going to want to repeat sections. I'm going to try and really crank some turns, and it's just going to be a really good combination, I think. So go for something in between. If is going to be great, but we know that the car just really excels in waves and in stowability and all of that. So I want to keep riding that. I want to go upwind more, so why not just put the Paia in and have a great combo? That's just my thinking. Middle ground stuff, yeah, it's pretty good for your first wing and everything, but that's just my gut inclination. We'll see where we go. I mean, hopefully we'll get a wing that does everything. Will the Paia be good enough for just like continually run small areas and stuff? I just think, yeah, because it's a little tricky to get up on for me at this stage, I'm thinking that might be a bit of a far reach. But look, I might surprise myself. I might just end up using this all the time, and well, time will tell. But at the moment, I'm finding it a little tricky to get up on, but it's kind of worth it. And look, if you've got stable winds, I mean, yesterday the wind was all over the place. It would be 13 knots, and then go to 25 and back to 13, and then it ended up getting to 38 towards the end, and it was just crazy. But it doesn't. I don't think this wing likes shifty winds either. You kind of got to get locked in and build some apparent wind, and then it's good. But check out the footage. Like I say, this is by no means an extensive review on the Paia or any Parawing. it's just me as a normal guy riding, just wanting to share my my impressions of just going out on one session, and hopefully I'll add another one today. All right, thanks for watching. See you guys.
Yeah, guys. So yeah, just back at the river. Just paddled out beyond the wind line, so just to get started, and I'm having some trouble. Hey, just keeping this thing in the air. Not easy. It's just so hard to keep going if there's no wind. But yeah, like a lot of Parawings, they get a bit heavy and stuff. So like, yeah, it's good to try the bottom end. But look, there are some gusts, so it's hard to know exactly how much wind I needed to get up. But I think Greg's spot on. I think he estimates around 14 knots. But look, I was on a fairly small semi-sinker. Once again, I think a slightly bigger board's going to be the go. But look, you know, the wind does get there, and yeah, very much using board speed to get up rather than sending it too far back in the window. You can just sort of see a gust go across the water there, and once we've got a bit of momentum, the apparent wind builds, and pretty nice. Yeah, so we're up and away. Pretty nice to jibe. No problems there really. Just a little bit of tension on the trailing edge just to keep the canopy going, but not too much. Look, I ride directional. I don't swap feed at all, and just unreal for going upwind on your toe side.
Once you get up, it's not even that windy still. Definitely picked up. But the apparent wind, oh, the apparent wind!
Yeah, I have a tendency to get overexcited sometimes.
Just cranking up wind.
You can see the angle of how far forward that wing was. Really, really quite impressive. So I'm just going past. I've just come around the head, so I've got a little bit cleaner wind here. I think I get up to 27 kilometers an hour. It's not fast, but you know, look, I'm riding a fairly big 1080. So I'm going to come back once I go up as far upwind as I can go, and come back doing a downwinder. I'm going to put the car up, like I said, just so it's easy to get up if I need to. So yeah, I think it's about 3.5 kilometers upwind I go. And look, I just never done that on any other wing. It's sort of like I'm on a kite foil setup, you know, like it's incredible. So absolute game changer for going upwind. So if anyone knows the Swan River, I've just gone from Applecross, I'm going up to Lucky Bay, and I actually go to Point Walter and a little bit beyond. Like I just get to this area here, I think it is, and I'm like, so now I'm wind shadowed by the high points of Blackwell Reach. So I'm having to pump, but again, you know, like just hard to keep this thing up. It almost stalls out. I can see the wind line out there to my left, which is on the other side of Point Walter. I think I just get about the wind there, almost stall it out, trying to put the harness line in. Don't need a harness with this wing, but look, I need it because I'm just got arthritis in my fingers and stuff. Gonna head around this this marker here. So I've gone beyond where I want to go, but I'm downwind basically. So I want to go completely upwind to Point Walter Jetty here. So I'm just going to go a little bit beyond. There's really clean wind on this side, bit of a Venturi coming up the river from upwind. Alright, so that's my target there, straight in front. So that's Point Walter Jetty. And as I approach it, the wind's just going to die out completely. Which is here. But yeah, look, I just can't believe I made it up here. I'm going to get a little bit excited, so excuse me.
Oh, Point Walter Jetty. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, g'day guys. So yeah, this was actually yesterday. This is my first attempt at getting up. I was super onshore, 13 to 28 knots, like really gusty. So it drops out a few times. But look, right now I think, yeah, it was like pretty strong. Managed to get away from the shore super fast. Like it was super easy to get up. When there's wind, that is, yeah. So yeah, just absolutely cranking up wind straight away. I was pretty impressed. My mate Peter Hookham, he's out on the Kanaha 4 meter. He's super good at getting up in light winds, but yeah, he was struggling because like it was either underpowered or overpowered. It gets to about 28 knots, just about around about here, I think. And yeah, I think he just gets ripped off. Can't hold it. He probably got a bit surprised there. But look, I'm just so stable here. No problems at all with the top end. I think I was holding 30 knots at one stage. Yeah, really nice to wad, to flag, whatever. Pulling that canopy in is so easy. The way that it sort of concertinas the trailing edge, just so it's really reduces in size, the canopy, as you pull it in. So really nice for the rear line. That was a pretty relaxed and probably not the way you're supposed to do it. Redeployment. Yeah, I'm getting a little excited here. Another wad. Yeah, I didn't really pull that one in so well. But yeah, look, it's really nice to redeploy, not an issue. Not a lot of bumps though. I did do a couple of full stow attempts. It was easy to put away, I thought, but I didn't redeploy at all. I kept getting a line caught on the camera, the watch or something. I was just carrying too much gear today, and the bumps weren't really great. Look, I fell in at one point, and towards the end my session, and the wind just sort of died, so it was below 13 knots. It picks up in a moment or two, but it was just hard to keep that thing flying in the lulls. And I know you're not supposed to do this, but I tried starting by putting the wing at the back of the window. I was almost just happy if I just kind of got pulled into the shore at this moment, but I thought I'd give it a try, just getting up by having the canopy at the back of the window where it's not supposed to be. I mean, these kites really do fly better when they're at the edge of the window, because they fly so far forward. But I thought I'd just give it a try, and yeah, look, you'd still get a little bit of a pull, but you can see that the canopy is actually reducing in size as it concertinas in, sort of thing. But look, I think I do manage to get up here. Bit of pumping. The 1080 Armstrong's really easy to get up. It doesn't take a lot. It's got an amazing low end. And look, that canopy just opens up. The wind picks up a little bit, and just all of a sudden, yeah, really no problems at all. Going upwind again. Love these. Love this. I think it's going to really work in the way that I want it to work, which is to park the car at the destination, travel upwind, and go down possibly with this wing. If I'm going to do like one really big run, if I can manage that, but I'm probably going to fall off a few times. I'm not like an absolute star at downwinding. I'm just sort of learning. So I think it might be useful just to take another wing that I can throw around, and I just so enjoy the KRs. In fact, later on this day, the wind really picks up to like 38 knots or something, and hard to believe. And I go out in the 1.7 car, which is my favourite wing. But listen, guys, thanks for watching. I think it's a very interesting wing, definitely worth checking out. Yeah, thanks again. Bye.